Merry Christmas, everyone. We do, as Catholic Christians, continue to celebrate Christmas because the grace of that gift of God's self to us cannot be contained in a 24-hour period. And so we celebrate Christmas for 8 days afterwards. And we can even leave up our decorations until the 2nd of February, the presentation of our Lord. What I want to speak today on Holy Family, I want to title this reflection, Blood is Thicker Than Water. We're all familiar with that expression. It's really old. It dates all the way back to the 12th century. And it's usually understood to mean that familial bonds will always be stronger than any other relationship. People who are related have stronger obligations to each other than to people outside the family. For example, to use it in the context or to give an example of how it's used, when my best friend and my brother got in a fight, I had to help my brother. Blood is thicker than water. More recent uses of the proverb, however, from the 18th to the 19th century, suggest that the full original expression of this metaphor is the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. Meaning, those who stand by you, who shed blood in battle beside you, they are your family. The family you choose is stronger than the one you're born into. The ties between people who have made a blood covenant can refer, for example, to soldiers who have shed blood together in battle. I'm reminded of that series on the Marines, Band of Brothers. This could also be referred to couples united in the sacrament of matrimony. And of course, brothers and sisters of the faith united in the blood of Christ through the sacrament of his love. This bond can become life-giving and binding, even more so than family in some cases. It is also often experienced by people in 12-step programs who support each other in the daily battle for sobriety and sanity. The point being that bonds of loyalty and choice are stronger than mere genetics. Family isn't always blood. It's the people in your life who want you there, who want you in theirs. The ones who accept who you are. The ones who would do anything to see you smile. And who love you no matter what. Where does this new emphasis come from? It's not trying to replace the sanctity of family. Pope Benedict XVI, he says about family, God had chosen to reveal himself by being born into a human family. And the human family thus became an icon of God. God is the Trinity. He is a communion of love. So is the family, despite all the differences that exist between the mystery of God and his human creatures, an expression that reflects the unfathomable mystery of God as love. The human family, in a certain sense, is an icon of the Trinity because it's interpersonal love and the fruitfulness of this love. So this is the ideal. So we have to make a distinction between the ideal and the real. Scott Hahn, in his book on the joy, it's called Joy to the World. It's on the mystery of Christmas. He says, the family is the key to Christmas. The family is the key to Christianity. He quotes Pope St. John Paul II, noted that everything good, history, humanity, salvation, passes by way of the family. When God comes to save us, He made salvation inseparable from family life, manifest in family life. Since the family is the ordinary setting of human life, he came to share it, redeem it, and perfect it. He made it an image and sacrament of a divine mystery. Salvation itself finds meaning only in familial relations. Now, if this is the ideal of the family and its dignity and sanctity, as made in the image of God, no wonder the devil hates it so much. As our Blessed Mother of Fatima revealed to Sister Lucia, that in the end times, the family would be the primary target of the enemy. Healthy and holy family bonds are paramount for a good society, for a human being, an individual to be healthy. But the reality is that many families have experienced brokenness. The home, which is meant to be the safest place on earth, can be a place of hidden suffering. The family that is meant to be the primary school where love is experienced, learned, and nourished can become a place of discontent, disconnect, disrespect, disappointment, and pain. And this is the reason why for some people, the holidays can be so difficult. Because if we were brought up in a home where the primary figure, parent, was an alcoholic or addicted to something and not fully present, when mom and dad were constantly fighting in conflict, and there was a lot of arguing, name-calling, where there wasn't the maturity of knowing how to deal with conflict and stress, but a lot of outbursts and explosions that hurt others. And because so much, the Christmas season, there's so much expectation, so much goes into it, it can be a stressful time. And if we grew up in an environment, of a household where parents came from a broken family and their grandparents came from a broken home, and it's just this cycle is passed on of dysfunction, then the season where we're most meant and expecting to experience the warmth of love, whenever that's lacking, the hurt goes even deeper. And so for those who have experienced that, every time Christmas comes around, it can make us feel uncontrollably vulnerable emotionally. I've heard people text when reaching out to people during this time, the response, "I'm just feeling a bit low right now. I don't know why. And I often wonder what's wrong with me. Why am I feeling like this when I should be happy?" So a lot of that trauma is held in the body. And when we go through a certain season, our subconscious remembers what happened during that season, even if we don't have a conscious memory of it, and the feelings can come back. To feel truly seen, heard, understood, accepted, connected, and validated is priceless. That's what family is meant to offer. But oftentimes, that's not where it's most found. Real bonding, authentic communication on the heart level, and not just superficial chit-chat. That, which we would hope to find in our family, in our home, is a real need of the heart, but not always there. And then another interesting dynamic is those siblings grew up in the same household environment. It's not uncommon for brothers and sisters to go in a very different direction as they grow up. A different direction in respects to core values, mentality, and lifestyle. And this is what makes issues of politics and religion such a super sensitive topic. to bring up in certain households or family gatherings. In fact, it's not uncommon for siblings to not only not get along as kids, but as adults, to just stop talking to each other altogether, especially after mother and father have passed away. Hopefully this doesn't sound familiar in your own life, but maybe you know somebody in whom this is their story. It is in the context of our closest relationships that the unhealed hurts we carry buried in the depths of our hearts comes out. The way parents talk to their children becomes their inner voice. Patterns, cycles, thoughts, and core beliefs about who we are is based on our conditioning, the interpersonal dynamics of our upbringing with parents and siblings, especially parents. The nature of our relationships with our parents from the earliest moments of our upbringing is what forms how we speak to ourselves as adults, how we relate to ourselves and our image of self, unless we begin to consciously heal from anything that wasn't healthy in that area. We know that even though we are Christian and we come to church regularly, unless we deal with our stuff, our personal issues, we could still end up hurting others in the way that we ourselves were hurt. Because all of the deepest things that most affected us, impacted us negatively in our relationship with our parents will come out in our relationship with our children and our spouses, unless we acknowledge it and deal with it responsibly. It inevitably comes out. Hurt people, without us knowing we're doing it. It's just a cycle that's automatic and often subconscious. It's so easy for us, even as Christians, to complain, to criticize, to nag, to accuse, to always point out others' mistakes, and to break down the spirit of others. And when we experience that from someone who seems to be very pious and religious and goes to church, it hurts us even more, and it makes us even turn against the faith that they claim to practice. And it's not to say that they're an imposter or a hypocrite. It's oftentimes that they just never dealt with their own stuff and never made the connection between the spirit and their a way of relating, their emotional and psychological makeup and relating to others. And for some people who have really experienced childhood trauma, even being loved and accepted can feel just as terrifying as rejected. Fatherhood is of huge importance for the stability and health of the family. And for that reason, the father is the enemy's primary target, to break down and weaken the safety and the health of the life of the family. There's a statistic on the father's influence on salvation in the family. When the dad comes to the faith first, or the father is the one who's the head of the household in terms of faith and morals, in the prayer life of the family, that makes a humongous difference. Especially if that father's father did the same thing, and that father's father did the same thing. That is the impact that has in the family's ability to be a holy family is huge. The statistics drop drastically. So when the dad comes to Christ first, or is the head of the household in terms of faith and morals, it's 99% likely that the rest of the family will follow suit in his footsteps. The statistic drops drastically when it's simply the mother holding down the fort in terms of faith and morals. It drops all the way down to 17%. The manliest thing a husband can do is to love his wife and children well. And that is of way more importance than simply the roof over our heads and the food on our tables and the amount of money we can make and the vacations we can go on. Saint Joseph is the great example of fatherhood. Scott Hahn in that book, O Holy Night? No, Joy to the World. He's got a chapter on there on Saint Joseph, and you know what he titled it so cleverly? O Silent Night, Holy Night. Referring to Saint Joseph's silence, but spelling night with a K-N. O Holy Night, O Silent Night. Because he lived a knighthood of authentic masculinity. And almost everything we know about him we find in the Christmas story. Pope Benedict XVI, who was named Joseph Ratzinger, expresses that Saint Joseph, the foster father of Jesus, is the man who enjoyed fatherhood in a preeminent degree. And he was the greatest reflection of the fatherhood of God. And he points out, Pope Ratzinger, or rather Benedict, points out about Saint Joseph that he is not the biological father of Jesus, whose father is God alone, and yet he lives his fatherhood fully and completely. Because to be a father means, above all, to be at the service of life and growth. We all know it's one thing for the man to plant the seed, but it's another thing for him to foster its growth. There's a great song called To Be a Man by an artist by the name of Daniel, who's I think from Nigeria, or his parents are from Nigeria. He goes by the artist name Dax, D-A-X. And this song has a profound psychological insight into fatherhood and manhood. And I want to read to you some of the lyrics without attempting to try to sing it the way he does. To be a man, I can't hide myself. I don't expect you to understand. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home. Yeah, I know this life can really beat you down. You want to scream, but you won't make a sound. Got so much weight that you've been holding, but won't show any emotion as a man that goes unspoken. That we can't cry when life gets hard. Unconditional love for women, children, and dogs. We know that we just have to play our parts, and don't nobody give a boop about our broken hearts. As a man, we gotta pave our way. Our only function is to work and slave. There's no respect for you if you ain't paid. You're disregarded as a human and you can't complain. And if you ever make it up and actually reach that place and find a woman that you love and give her your last name, you'll feel the things that you provide is only why she stays. And when you try to explain, you'll say, I can't hide myself. I don't expect you to understand. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. And finally, the last verse, he says, don't give up, keep fighting. As a man, our sun is our horizon, and our Father's actions play a role. And we end up like him, so they can't let us see them hurt. Because they'll embody what we do and start a generational curse. No wonder most men are so depressed. All the things that they can't express. They go to war, get thrown on the shelf, then go back to war with their mental health. Then grab that bottle and ask for help. Try to pull themselves out of hell. Then fall back down and then realize that they gone have to do it themselves. It's the circle of life as a man you provide. They don't know what you're worth till the day you die. And that's when they start crying then move on to a man to confide in. That's why we feel we can't hide ourselves. We don't expect you to understand. We just hope we can explain what it's like to be a man. Now, for some, that might sound quite bleak, and hopefully it's not completely true in everybody here, every man here. But it does express some insight into men who don't know how to express some of their struggles, because that's not one of a man's strength, usually, to know how to express themselves. But another man says this: one of the greatest blessings, this is a father, one of the greatest blessings we can offer to the world is the power of a Christ-centered home, where the gospel is taught, covenants are kept, and love abounds. Scott Hahn says one of the most profound implications of the Christmas story, that God made his dwelling place among men, women, and children, and he calls us to become his family, his holy household. The household of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph become a home away from home for the eternal Son of God. It was an outpost of heaven, an image of the Trinity in the world. So God took his place in the human family and invited you and me to find our place as well. He made a home for us in the church. And this is why the church, as the family of God, is meant to be a place of healing, not more hurting. This is the vocation of the church as a mother, leading us to our Heavenly Father, to be a home away from home, where our hearts can heal and learn what it means to love and bond. And so, the blood of the covenant, maybe for some, is stronger than the water of the womb. That is, we who share so much in common when it comes to our core values and desires for communion with God, and who strengthen one another in fighting the good fight of faith. Faith doesn't always take you out of the problem. Faith takes you through the problem. Faith doesn't always take away the pain. Faith gives you the ability to handle the pain. Faith doesn't always take you out of the storm. Faith calms you in the midst of the storm. We can't change what's going on around us until we start changing what's going on within us. Inner peace begins the moment you choose not to allow another person or event to control your emotions. To conclude with Scott Hahn, we are created for the sake of love. When we experience love in family life, it's heavenly. But it is still only an image of the greater glory we hope to behold in heaven. Let us stand now. And as God's family, renew our covenant